All right, so get this. Today we're going deep on something, well, I'm sure you've thought about it. How to get better at speaking English.
Yeah.
We're digging into this awesome lecture by Ariel, she's an English professor, packed with advice and real-world examples.
Oh, cool.
And get this, just by listening to this deep dive,
Ha!
you're already doing one of her big tips, learning by listening.
This is interesting how she connects listening and speaking, right? It's not just hearing the words. You got to really think about them.
Exactly. She does this classroom thing. Her students listen to a story, and then, get this, they have to retell it.
Oh, wow.
And they even add their own twists. It's like a workout for your English.
And anyone listening can do that too. Like summarize this deep dive to a friend or, I don't know, even your cat.
Uh-huh.
It makes you process what you hear and use your own words, which is, well, really important to become fluent.
Okay, so another gem from Ariel is formal versus informal English.
All right.
She gives this hilarious warning about, accidentally using the wrong tone in the wrong situation.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Totally.
She had these great examples like, hi guys is fine with friends, but in a classroom, you'd say hello classmates.
Mm-hmm.
Or like swapping wanna for want to in a work email or something.
See, that's where it gets tricky for me.
Yeah.
Like English today, it's this mix of British and American style, so knowing which formal is right is tough.
And that's exactly why she's so big on knowing your context. Like, who are you talking to? You want your English to, fit the situation, whether you're online or giving a presentation.
Makes sense. Now, something a lot of people struggle with, how our native language, it kind of sneaks into our English.
Uh-huh.
I do it all the time.
It's totally common.
Yeah.
But Ariel's tip is to mimic native speakers. Use technology to help. Movies, podcasts, YouTube, just immerse yourself in it.
That sounds great, but how do you find stuff you actually enjoy? I mean, I can only watch so many cat videos,
Well, what are your hobbies? Like cooking. Find cooking shows. True crime fan. There's tons of podcasts. Make it relevant to you.
True.
And don't underestimate, what's it called? Shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah, repeating what you hear.
Like I'm dubbing a movie. Sounds kind of terrifying, but I'm willing to try.
Haha, it can be really helpful.
Okay, Ariel also has this unique way of teaching vocabulary, right?
Oh, totally. She picks out words from when the students retell those stories.
Right.
And she explains them right there within the story itself.
It's like, aha, now I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of her examples were really interesting, like creature. Then there was rebuke
Oh, yeah.
and swoop. She even corrected people's pronunciation, which I always need.
It's way better to learn vocab in context, not just memorizing lists, But don't forget the grammar. Ariel's big on that, too.
Right, the basics.
She makes it fun, though.
Oh, she does.
Remember that analogy? Putting two nouns next to each other is like inviting two VIPs to the same stage. They're going to clash.
Uh-huh, so true.
Gotta find those memorable connections to really get the rules.
Speaking of memorable, let's talk about motivation. What hit me about Ariel is, how passionate she still is about improving her English.
Yeah.
She's been teaching it forever, but she's still learning. It's inspiring,
Shows that self-improvement, it never ends, no matter your level.
And her core message is, to be fluent and confident, you got to practice consistently.
Yeah.
And you reflect on how you're doing.
Like a constant checkup.
Exactly. But this is where it gets stuck. What if you just feel stuck?
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated when it's tough?
That's a great question, and something Ariel addresses. She says motivation, it can come from all sorts of places. Maybe it's the excitement of understanding a new culture, or, sometimes it's out of necessity, like needing English for a job you really want.
So even if it's not all fun and games, that need can be a motivator.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes that push is what we need to stay committed. It's not about feeling super inspired every second. It's about, finding that drive inside you, whatever it is, and using it to keep going.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you keep that fire going when you hit a wall? Like when you feel like you're not getting anywhere?
Well, Ariel is big on breaking those huge goals down into smaller steps. Instead of trying to be perfectly fluent overnight, focus on one grammar rule or learning new words in a specific area.
So it's like those fitness challenges where you set realistic goals each week.
Exactly. And celebrating those small wins along the way can give you that boost you need. It's about realizing that progress, it's not always a straight line, It's about those little steps that eventually lead to fluency.
That's a really encouraging way to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, going back to Ariel's tip about mimicking native speakers, she also talks about self-awareness, right? especially with pronunciation.
Oh, definitely. She points out how our native language, it can sometimes make us pronounce things in ways that don't quite match standard English.
Like how I always mess up the sound.
Don't. Haha, exactly. But Ariel says it's completely normal and we can totally fix it with practice. She suggests really listening to native speakers, not just to understand what they're saying, but how they're saying it.
So it's like becoming a language detective, listening for those tiny details.
Exactly.
That how do you actually do that? Like, do I need a magnifying glass and a notebook?
Haha. Well, Ariel recommends using online tools like dictionary.com to hear the correct pronunciation, and you can even repeat after them to practice. Think of it as like your personal pronunciation coach.
That's way easier than those giant dictionaries I used to carry around. But let's be real, just practicing individual words, it gets boring fast.
True.
How do you, get that natural flow of spoken English?
That's where her suggestion about immersing yourself in real English content comes in. Find movies, videos, YouTube, whatever you actually enjoy,
Okay.
and pay attention to how native speakers talk, like the pace, the pauses, how their voice goes up and down.
So it's like absorbing it all just by being around the language.
Yeah, pretty much. And she even suggests trying the shadowing technique,
Oh, right. We talked about that.
where you repeat what you hear. It might feel weird at first,
Probably.
but it's a really good way to learn those natural rhythms.
Okay. So we've got mimicking, shadowing, immersing ourselves in content. That's a lot. How do you even start organizing all that?
Well, Ariel says the key is consistency. She wants people to find ways to weave English practice into their daily life.
Even if it's just for a few minutes.
Exactly. Listen to a podcast while you're cooking, watch a TV show with English subtitles, even talking to yourself in English can help.
Wait, talk to myself. Is that like a sign I need help?
No, not at all. It's actually a great way to practice saying your thoughts out loud.
Huh. Interesting.
You can narrate your day, have pretend conversations, even practice giving presentations to, I don't know, your plants. The point is to find what works for you and make it a habit.
Okay. I'm starting to see how it all fits together. It's not about one magic trick. It's about, like, building a whole English practice routine.
Exactly. And that brings us back to self-reflection. Ariel is big on regularly checking in with yourself. What's working? What's still hard? Are you actually practicing?
So it's about being honest about what you're good at and what you need to work on.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate those wins. Each time you master something new, understand a tough sentence, or have a whole conversation without feeling lost.
Right.
Give yourself credit. It's proof that you're making progress.
Okay. I'm feeling more motivated already. But we've been talking a lot about the individual. What about, finding a community, other people to practice with? Does Ariel talk about that?
She does, and it's a perfect way to move into our last section where we'll look at the power of connecting with other people on this language learning journey. Welcome back. So we were talking about community and support.
Right. Finding your people.
Yeah, Ariel really emphasizes that learning a language, it doesn't have to be a solo mission. Actually, connecting with others, it can be like a total game changer. Think about it. Sharing your struggles and celebrating your wins with other learners,
Yep.
it can really boost your motivation and make the whole thing way more fun.
It's like having a workout buddy. When you're feeling down, they cheer you on. And when you hit a goal, you celebrate together.
Exactly. Ariel suggests checking out language exchange groups or online forums where you can meet people with similar goals.
Oh, cool.
Imagine practicing conversation with someone from a different country, learning about their culture while they learn about yours.
That sounds awesome. I've always been kind of scared to join those groups.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm afraid of making mistakes in front of other people.
That's a super common fear, but Ariel reminds us that mistakes, they're a normal part of learning.
Right.
In fact, they're often the best way to learn.
Really?
Think about it. When you make a mistake and someone corrects you nicely,
Yeah.
you're way more likely to remember it.
That's so true. I remember this one time I was trying to order food in Italy, and I totally butchered the pronunciation. But the waiter, he just laughed and corrected me.
Nice.
And I've never forgotten how to say that dish since then.
See, those real-life interactions, they're so valuable.
Yeah.
They take learning out of the textbooks and into the real world where it comes alive.
It's like the difference between reading about swimming and actually jumping in the pool.
Exactly.
You can learn all the theory, but you don't really get it until you're actually doing it.
And those real-world experiences, even when you mess up a little, they can lead to those awesome aha moments that Ariel talks about.
Yeah, those aha moments. Tell me more about those.
So she emphasizes that those sudden bursts of clarity, They can happen in so many ways.
Okay.
Maybe you're studying grammar and all of a sudden a rule that's been confusing you, it just clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're having a conversation and you realize, wow, I just expressed myself perfectly.
I love those moments. It's like the language puzzle finally comes together.
Exactly. And Ariel, she really wants learners to look for these moments.
Mm,
Be curious, try different ways of learning, and don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone.
makes sense.
Those breakthroughs, they often happen when we least expect them.
So it's not just about passively learning. It's about like really engaging with the language
Yeah,
and being open to those moments when things suddenly make sense.
exactly. And as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I want to highlight one last thing Ariel talks about.
Okay.
It's so important to celebrate every win you have along the way,
Even the small ones.
especially the small ones. Each step forward, it's a big deal.
I like that.
Did you nail a tricky pronunciation? Give yourself a high five. Did you have a whole conversation without freezing up? Do a little dance.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
love that. It's so easy to focus on what we haven't learned yet,
Right.
but focusing on those wins, it can really boost our confidence.
Absolutely. And remember, learning a language, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
True.
It's about enjoying the process, embracing the challenges, and celebrating those moments when everything clicks.
Well said. So, to sum it all up, what we've learned from Ariel is that improving your English speaking skills,
Yeah.
it's about active listening, finding fun ways to practice, and surrounding yourself with the language. But it's also about not being afraid of mistakes, celebrating those little wins,
Right.
and realizing that connecting with others can make the whole journey a lot more rewarding.
And most importantly, it's about finding that motivation inside you.
That keeps you going.
Exactly. That keeps you moving forward one step at a time toward fluency and confidence.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of English language learning. We hope you've learned a lot from Ariel and that you're feeling inspired to keep going on your own language journey.
Yeah, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep celebrating those wins.
Okay, so we're back and still on this awesome deep dive about, getting better at speaking English with Ariel's insights.
Yeah.
You mentioned she talks about community and support.
Right.
I'm really curious to hear more about that.
Well, she's a big believer that learning a language, it doesn't have to be like a lonely thing.
Okay.
In fact, connecting with others, it can really change the game.
Makes sense.
Think about it when you can share those struggles, and celebrate wins with other people who are learning too.
Mm-hmm.
It can really pump up your motivation
Yeah,
and make the whole journey more fun.
totally. It's like, I don't know, having a workout buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're feeling discouraged, they're there to cheer you on.
Uh,
And then when you reach a goal, you can celebrate together.
right. Ariel even suggests things like language exchange groups.
Oh, cool.
Or online forums where you can connect with people who have similar goals.
Yeah.
Imagine you're practicing conversation with someone from another country, learning about their culture, and they're learning about yours.
I've got to admit, I've always been a little hesitant to join those groups,
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
I think I'm just afraid of making mistakes in front of others.
I get it. That's a super common feeling. But Ariel reminds us, mistakes, they're a natural part of learning.
Well, yeah, but
They're often the best opportunities to actually improve.
really?
Think about it. When you make a mistake and then someone corrects you in a nice way, it's much more likely to stick in your memory.
That's actually so true. I remember this one time I was in Italy trying to order food, and I completely messed up the pronunciation.
Oh, no.
But the waiter, he was so cool about it.
No.
He just laughed and corrected me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've never forgotten how to say that dish ever since.
See? Those real-life moments, they can be so powerful.
They really can.
It takes the language out of the books and into the real world where it actually matters.
It's like the difference between reading about swimming
Right.
and actually getting in the pool.
Exactly. You can know all the theory, but until you're actually doing it,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
And even those times when you stumble a bit, it can lead to those aha moments that Ariel talks about.
Right.
Oh man, those aha
You
moments.
bet.
Tell me more about those.
Well, she says those, sudden bursts of clarity,
Right.
they can happen in all sorts of ways.
Hmm.
Maybe you're studying grammar,
Yeah.
and suddenly this rule that's been confusing you, it finally clicks.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe you're having a conversation and you realize, wow, I just expressed myself perfectly.
I love those moments. It's like Suddenly, the language puzzle just fits together.
Exactly. And Ariel's advice is to actively look for these moments. Be curious,
Mm.
experiment with different ways of learning, and don't be afraid to, try something new. Those breakthroughs, they often happen when we least expect them.
So it's not just about passively learning. It's about, like, actively engaging with the language
Right.
and being open to those moments when things suddenly click.
Absolutely. And, as we're wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to emphasize one last point Ariel makes. It's so important to celebrate every win you have along the way,
Every win.
no matter how small.
Mm.
Each step forward is a big deal. Like, did you finally nail that tricky pronunciation? High five. Did you have a conversation and not freeze up? Do a little dance.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we haven't learned yet.
Oh,
But yeah, focusing on those small wins, it can really help our confidence.
big time. And remember, learning a language, it's a journey, not a race, right?
Right.
It's about finding joy in the process, embracing those challenges, and celebrating those moments when everything makes sense.
So well said.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap it all up, what we've learned from Ariel is that improving your English speaking skills, it's a whole journey.
Yeah.
It's about active listening, finding fun ways to practice, surrounding yourself with the language, but it's also about being okay with making mistakes, celebrating those wins, no matter how small,
Right.
and realizing that connecting with others, it can make the whole experience so much more rewarding.
And maybe most importantly, it's about finding that motivation inside you, that
Yeah.
drive that keeps you moving forward, one step at a time, towards fluency and confidence.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of English language learning. We hope you got some great tips from Ariel and that you're feeling inspired to keep going on your own language journey.
Keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep celebrating those wins. You got this.